I know I'm not, but it just feels like yesterday that I was in a chair and being one, you know, and I've always stayed humble through it. I think that it's just been an incredible journey, you know. I think that we're special people that have been through some really tough things. A lot of people have, you know, but we just so happen to use drugs and alcohol to cope with it. If you get to know people beyond surface level and like learn what they've been through and what has happened to them and what they've persevered through, you know, I think a lot of people, you can like write a book, make a movie out of them, a documentary. Like, we all have rad stories. It's just a lot of times we don't take the time to get to know people. And for me, luckily, I come to work every day and get to take the time to know people and offer support and be someone in their corner, because they burned every bridge and harmed every relationship they have, you know, and yeah, that's been my last 13 years, and here we are. My name is Shane Bess. I'm the program director here at Monarch Recovery Intensive Outpatient, and this is my addiction story. I grew up in Oxnard, California, very local to here, just a few minutes away. I was there till I was about 16. That's when my motocross career was really taking a turn, you know, professionally. So I had to move out of the area down south to Riverside. Family life, you know, I have a new understanding of it now. So I would say it was good at the time. It wasn't bad or nothing. It was just a lot of pressure from motorcycle racing. It was very serious from a young age, and I knew that. It wasn't like pressure from parents. It was a lot of pressure I put on myself. Very competitive, and but it was good. Like, I had a good upbringing. My dad provided. My mom was a hard worker. You know, it was relatively normal within the household. You know, my dad has a little bit of a temper. And being a roofing contractor, you're not in exactly the best mood every day after work. You know, it's very hard work, and he's still doing it at 62 years old. But it was cool. It was a good upbringing. There's some things I would change, and I think everybody would in the family. But I believe we've all healed through them. And when I look back, I still feel lucky.
Are you an only child?
No, I have a little sister. So yeah, not an only child. Got my little sister that's still a pain in my ass, so she's 5 years younger. But we had a good relationship. I think it could have been better if I was more present. I think I've been not present in most of my relationships and friendships growing up, because I kind of lived in this bubble in my head, thinking about where we were traveling to the next weekend to race. You know, it's kind of a lonely man's sport, even as a kid when you're, you know, one of the top guys in the nation. So I think I did good as a big brother early on, and then later on, as racing got more serious, it was just kind of like I was there, but I wasn't there, and that kind of followed me through my whole life. I got into motocross, I really haven't even thought about that for a long time. I think my dad got me on a bike at 2, like later part of 2, and I started riding at 3, pretty good, I believe. So that's like 3, 4, racing at 5. I always did fine in school. I would pass. Like, I think one year my dad challenged me, like, can you get straight A's? And I did, you know, but I always passed like a B student, and that's what I always kind of shot for in college too. So it was moderately easy. It wasn't too difficult, but I felt different. I felt different than other kids. We had to travel a lot to go get any seat time, any riding time in. So I'd be like doing homework with the light on in the car, driving home in the dark from like 2 hours away, getting home late, waking up, going to school, getting pulled out early. In high school, I did like a half a semester of normal classes, and then I was pulled out to start homeschool.
How did that work, having friendships when you were traveling a lot?
Yeah, so elementary school, I had like the kids I played basketball and stuff with, and I actually still know a few of them, but like didn't stay friends with them through like all life until way later due to Facebook, which is cool. But Yeah, I didn't feel very connected with friendships, you know. Luckily in those times it still was, everybody came outside to play on the block in the neighborhood, so that was really fun. I think it's a lot different now. I don't know any of those kids anymore, but we had a lot of fun, street football and basketball, normal stuff, skateboarding, riding bicycles in the neighborhood. So that made me feel pretty normal. But like, as far as being connected to people at school, it was kind of like I was there in my mind. I was always elsewhere waiting to go, right? Like I was excited to go riding, or I knew where we were going once I got pulled out, you know. I was looking forward to that. And yeah, school, I just kind of went through the motions, really.
Do you feel like that you may have missed out on a normal childhood because of your motocross career?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think I always wonder what would that have been like. But like, I'm not into like trying to change my story. It is what it is. And I think that I greatly benefited from being a motocross racer, even though a lot of damage came with it. Possibly my drug addiction stems from it, you know, head injuries, lots of broken bones. But, you know, for a while I was kind of stuck there. But I think that like the life that I lived was far more beneficial, you know. But it would have been cool to have like a more normal life. Like I wonder what that would be like. I wonder how it would be different, you know.
What was your first experience with drugs and alcohol?
Drugs and alcohol. So I think I was like 15, and me and my buddy, he was like #1 in the nation in his class. I was #1 in the nation in my class that year. And we started sneaking some beers in. You know, I'd go out to Bakersfield, and we were training partners, and we were super serious. But that was when, you know, puberty and girls, and we were kind of like starting to like have side interest, you know. So we had an older friend that would get us, you know, some cheap beers, and that's when we started kind of like engaging with that and experimenting. All fairly childish, you know. I think I right from the beginning, I didn't like alcohol, but like I would still do it, even though I'd be like the guy in the bushes throwing up, you know. But yeah, that was when it first started.
When did you try drugs?
Drugs, I think I was like, man, all the numbers and years I can't completely remember, but it was later on. I think I did marijuana was next. Yeah, I had a buddy that was like a professional bicycle racer and jumper. So again, like we felt like we were being serious, and we, you know, smoke a little weed, and wasn't like I loved it or anything, but it was cool. Kind of escaped, kind of made you not think about like where you had to go travel this next weekend, or, you know, all the stuff that racing would do to my mental state, you know, kind of would keep me pulled from reality, like just stuck there, you know. And it was kind of relaxing to like smoke marijuana and just press pause on all that stuff for a little bit.
When did you get your first concussion?
First concussion I think was 8 years old, broke a collarbone and smacked my head pretty good. And that's the first time I remember like not knowing a period of time. Like it didn't really hurt to break the collarbone, but it was just real hazy and weird, and like opening a door. I just remember things being like tough to process, like what to do next and get out of the car. And that's when I first got a taste of like I think it was like a Tylenol coating, which was what you can give kids, I believe, back then. Not 100% sure, but it was you know, broken in half or whatnot. Mom would give it to me on a like a time schedule, and that's the first time I remember opiates. If I think back, I remember taking that pill, and I just got like a Nintendo, the very first Nintendo. So I was just like stoked in my little sling, and Mom would give me my pill, and I can remember like the body warmth and like the melting feeling I would get. And I liked those. And that was associated every time I broke a bone in racing. There's a lot of them. I always knew I was going to get something like that orange bottle, you know, and I always knew I felt good and I liked it. And yeah, I got hurt. Wouldn't take them for a long time, never abused them. You know what I mean? It was always with Mom's assistance growing up, but there was a lot of bones, but it was like, broke a bone, play video games for a month and see my friends, and no big deal. I'll be back in no time. It was always good to get like a break. So injuries weren't like, oh my God, I'm hurt again, my career's over. It was like, get a little break. Get to take some pills and play video games.
So your injuries were kind of a positive experience for you because you got to take a break from your racing schedule. You got to feel good with the coding. You got to play Nintendo. How many concussions did you have throughout childhood?
That I could remember, I don't know about childhood, but through my life that I've documented a couple years ago, I can remember 14, and those are like real dirt sleeps, like really being asleep. But there's so many more that I know where they hurt worse, or like my bell was just wrong, things were blurry. Those I just left off because I was just kind of trying to remember the ones where I was really out, you know what I mean? And I have 14 that I can remember. And I'm sure I missed some, but that's where I kind of stopped. That's kind of enough to like, damn, I've had a lot,
What was your high school experience like?
High school experience it started and was over really quick. Like I said, I think I did a half semester normal. And then I got my I only went to 4 classes and did like some homeschool for the second half of the day. So I would leave at lunch, and, different people, or my dad would help get me to tracks to ride. And then the second year I just was full homeschool. So it was started over fast. I had like my first girlfriend, who I'm still great friends with and love dearly. And it was like, I kind of just got ripped from everybody. High school started out pretty good too. Like I started to feel like normal. I had moved from one side of the city to the other. That's where I actually met Sean, the owner here. We skateboarded and stuff as like 13, 14-year-olds. He was like the first guy that, familiar face. I didn't know anybody in this side of town or school. And he was like, waved me over to come hang out with him. I was like, thank you, Jesus, because I was like so awkward and didn't know anybody. So like, that's pretty cool. And I always remember that from Sean, just being kind of like that first, warm, welcoming face to me. And yeah, it started out cool. And then things were progressing really quick with racing. And it was, we've been all in since I was like 12 years old, even probably earlier really. But yeah, it just kind of ended, and I didn't even look back. I didn't even think about these people, from school. I didn't think about class. I didn't think about any friends I had made. Like I was just in a whole nother tunnel vision in life, and self-determined, and what I had been working for all my childhood and was continuing, it was getting more and more serious. So yeah.
Do you feel like that you were kind of forced to grow up a little faster than you would normally, having a normal childhood, going to school and everything?
If I look back on it, at the time, I didn't think of it that way. At the time, I think you would probably, if you had a son that was as competitive and as good as I was, like, I don't think I was forced to do anything. I don't even know that my parents would have chose this. My dad raced motorcycles. This was kind of like his way of staying out of trouble. All his friends are like dead or in prison. And he liked dirt bikes and jet skis. We tried the jet ski once, and I remember crying and did not like the water, still don't like the water. And so like dirt bike stuck type of deal. And he had some, things to teach me there. It was fun for him, kept him out of trouble. And like the way he puts it is like, I had to keep doing this for you because you're too good. Like there was no way we couldn't see where this went. So I don't think forced to grow up, but like, I think it naturally kind of did that to me, just the sport itself. But then also not grow up in some other ways, socially. There's other things, deficits that I kind of missed out on from just having that natural, normal, whatever you call it, lifestyle, So I don't know, you can get lost in that pretty easy.
Did you go to college after school?
Yeah, well, I went to college after I entered recovery. So school and college and all that stuff was nowhere on the radar early on. In my eyes, I knew what I was going to be doing from like 12 or 13 years old, and that's what it was going to be. And I thought I would do that, most of my life. And then I never thought past that, you always got to figure out what's next and whatnot. But yeah, school was not on the radar at all until I entered recovery and got put on this path.
When did things go from casual use with drugs and alcohol to something more serious?
I want to say like end of 18 years old. My first year as a pro, I had got myself in position on a team from a manufacturer that I rode for all my life with Suzuki, and I was on like the highest level of team that there is, what everybody dreams to make it to. It's the best bikes, equipments, mechanics, everything. It's like just the top shelf operation, right? I'm there. I have some injuries leading into that year, many injuries leading into that year. And it just didn't go good, and I had injuries throughout with concussions, broken collarbone. I think there's a couple concussions. Can't remember all of it. It's kind of fragmented, but I lost that ride, and it was rough because I then go to a new team and get on the bike, and I'm just like, dude, there's no way to compete with that. From this to that, it's like, and in my mind, I was already checked out, had been beat up pretty good. My last couple of years of amateur racing on big bikes is what we call them, and my first year pro was rough. I was just deflated, and now I'm living life. I'm living on my own. I have other interests now. It's taken my attention off what I should be putting my focus to, which was racing. And after that, about halfway through that second year, I was like, I'm not going to be doing this much longer. I'm going to ride this season out. I had stacked up some more bad concussions. Still putting in the effort, but I just mentally, emotionally, like my heart and my aggression wasn't there. And I just couldn't see a way around like competing in the way I wanted to compete and to be like a top guy. I didn't want to be like some guy just like happy to be there at the show. That's not what I had been my whole life, and I wasn't going to start now. And that's what I had been my first couple of years racing. And I was like, yeah, it just didn't feel like it was in the cards for me anymore. Like I like to be true to myself. And so like that year I started doing some cocaine, doing some XC, going with friends to like, underground like party rave type of things, and just going on adventures, seemed like a good time. It seemed pretty extreme, which I guess you would call me an adrenaline junkie. I never thought of it that way, but it was like exciting enough to where it was like something new. And it was exciting, I guess, and it kept kind of pulling me back. So yeah, I'd say like end of 18, midway through 18, towards 19, somewhere in there, it got more serious. Me and my dad's relationship was a little tough. It had been tough for many years, and so I was, my parents are private people. I'm a private person, and that continued. And I didn't really like his input. I don't really think he understood what it was like at that level. And he didn't really know that I was checking out already. Like in my mind, I was kind of like, I'm gonna ride this out, and this is gonna be a wrap, and I don't know what I'm gonna do, but we'll figure it out. So I know possibly like he probably thought some girls and some marijuana. I think he found marijuana in my car one time when he was cleaning it for me when I was visiting, but I don't think to the extent whatsoever, no. And at that time, it wasn't like super deep, but there was some extensive partying going on,
How often were you using?
It was like a off-season thing, or when I was hurt type of thing. I had been hurt and sidelined quite a bit that year, so it was like a couple weekends, have fun. I got to be back at the track and get myself in order to like go out here and see if I can have a good ride type of deal. So it was like, here and there. And as soon as like our season was over, then it was like every weekend, you know, like Thursday, Friday, Saturday was like Tuesday night. It was wherever we can, whatever club, party, bar. After parties always at our house, me and my roommates. So it started becoming like daily and weekly during once the season was over.
Were you also drinking during that time?
Yeah, but not that much drinking. Drinking was like at the bar and stuff, but I wasn't like super into alcohol. It was like drink some to do some coke and then drink some a little bit just to kind of be standing there with something in your hand and that type of deal, you know. Now, if I remember correctly, so once I quit, me and my buddies got a house together, and that's when it became like for the next year, I to let my parents know I was done racing. I don't even know if I formally let them know, but I think they had to pull it out of me. And yeah, we just had the party house. So that was like the next year. It became pretty intense then.
When did you realize that you had an addiction?
I don't even know if I realized it until years later. Actually, I knew something was wrong that year. You know, we're drug dealing and using and just focused on like trying to be like something we've seen in movies, you know, and like we had cool little operation and fun, and it was a good time when I look back on it. It's not something I would change, but I got bored of it and knew like it was like day in, day out, like, this is kind of, the fun's over, you know, it just didn't. And I kind of missed racing. And I know like, if things had gone different, I probably would have been doing pretty good. And, you know, I was more accepting to like trying to do racing and just be someone that was doing good instead of like these high expectations I had for myself all my life. So I got interested. A chiropractor sponsor and friend of mine would check on me every once in a while and be like, do you want to go ride? I got an extra bike, you know, and just kind of like in my ear, just lightly here and there, you know. And I told him I had went riding, and, you know, he's like, you look good on the bike and this and that. Like, you ever thought about like just getting back and doing some local stuff and see where that took you? And, you know, I think he could tell it was be a lot better for me than what I was doing, because I probably didn't look too great. So we did that. We got a bike and got back riding. But I remember the first time I went riding, my roommate went with me. He's still a good friend and stuff. And I hadn't taken like pills, and I hadn't taken anything for a few days, and I'm like did a couple runs, and I'm like trying to get back on my water and like a bedtime, you know, and we had gone to the track and I rode and I felt really good. And then on the way home, like something came over my body and I was just like throwing up all the way home. I had to pull over, he had to drive, like my legs were locked and I was just like out the window, and he's like, damn bro, are you good? And I was like, I didn't know what was happening to me. Like I really didn't. I didn't know if it was some stomach virus, but that's when I kind of learned about withdrawals and what it could be. I had talked to someone like a little older than me and was like, you know, I was taking like 15, 20 narcos a day. And he's like, bro, you can't just stop like that. Like you got to like wean yourself off, you know? And I had taken some to like see if what he was saying was right and like try that method, and like instantly felt better. And I was just like totally normal when I was just throwing up for the last hour driving home. And I was like, that was eye-opening. I still didn't really process it. I wasn't like on Google, like trying to like educate myself. I was just like, I was kind of like an aim and shoot guy. I was just like, okay, that worked. Like, okay, this is what we're doing next, you know? But that's kind of when I realized, if I look back, that like something was like I was in kind of a little bit deep and my body was reacting to it. The first low point was a period of time where I felt like I was going to die from my using, you know, like every day with like a flashlight to find a vein, and like biting the flashlight to find the vein type of deal, and like getting mad and feeling so weak in my body, and not knowing if this next shot was going to be what killed me, but I like didn't care. You know, that was a pretty low point, because I have always been ambitious in life, and enjoyed it. And I love my family, you know, my grandparents. I just got a great family. I got great hobbies that I always have loved. I've always been into things that I thoroughly enjoy doing, you know what I mean? But I just remember like, damn, I'm like really bad off right now, you know. That was pretty tough. My mom had set me up. My grandpa and I were very close, so I lived with my grandpa in Riverside, and then when I didn't live with him, I'd always go for like boxing events or some football. Like we always stayed united that way. And my grandpa, I could keep it real with. He had done some, you know, using and drinking and stuff in his lifetime and kind of ruin a marriage type of deal. So he knew what was up. So they like lured me in through a boxing, like a pay-per-view event, you know. She's like, hey, I'm gonna go to Grandpa's, come see it. It was like Mayweather, Ricky Hatton fight in 2011 or something, I don't know. So I went, and, actually I didn't go, but I ended up there because I had like passed out and been up for days and took some foreign pill that like, I remember like my legs wouldn't work and I couldn't even like walk. I don't even know, I still don't know what it was, but it was at my buddy's little spot that we were staying. And I collapsed and my boy somehow got me, or I don't know if I got myself on the couch, and like I slept there, and then I woke up to my one friend locally knew where I was at, and my uncle and my dad came and got me, like banging on the door, and my boys there were kind of like, they didn't want to let them see me like that. And also they knew I didn't want no part of getting better. So they were kind of like trying to like, oh, he's not here. And they ended up getting it out of them that I was there. So they like picked me up and got me to this intervention that was planned for that pay-per-view, but we didn't really have to do all that. So I went to a detox the next day. So that was a low point too. And I kind of like woke up in detox the next day, and I had like track marks like all everywhere up my legs and my ankles, like pretty like a lot, and like really bad. I wasn't really like, it was like my first era of using intravenously. So, missing all the time and just tore up, you know. And I remember like day one after sleeping and being in that hospital and just being like, I felt like just a bag of bones, like, and just no life in me. Like you would never have known I was an athlete and like a pro at anything. That was a low point. So like after detox, the cat was kind of out of the bag about how serious it was. I moved back to my parents' house. I had like nothing to show for what I've done over the last few years, like wasted away money, left money, like just partied it all away, sold vehicles and totaled vehicles, like it's just like nothing to show for it, right? So I moved back to my parents.
How old were you?
How old was I then? I was 23 at this time. I think 23, yeah. So I'm 23, out of detox, racing's over. Like a key point of the story is my girlfriend had died after I had gone back to racing and got everything back on track and was doing good. My girlfriend had died, and so depression hit, and that like took me back to the addiction. You know, I had cleaned my shit up. I was doing good and like in a happy place with racing, and thought like, okay, this is how it's gonna go the next 10 years. And depression hit, and somehow I spiraled back into like using, and that's when it got worse than ever. Like stuff, that's when I went to the next level. At that time, I was just using heroin, heavy heroin, a little bit of meth here and there, but I was opiate mostly is what I preferred. And then I go to that detox, that little intervention that got kind of, wasn't really an intervention, but it was planned. Go to detox, move back to my parents' house in Oxnard, and started using like, it didn't stick, you know what I mean? I got out, felt good to get some like food in me and like sleep, and like I realized like how serious this was, but I wasn't ready to stop.
What were your relationships like with your friends and family then?
My friends, yeah, I don't know. Like I had some friends, but they were like only people I used hard drugs with that were like accepting of it and stuff. So like we didn't really communicate much. They would check on me here and there, but it was like, now I'm like 2 hours away. My real friends that I had been close to over the last handful of years, once I started using heavy, I already had separated from them, so nothing changed there. Made some phone calls, like very limited, just, you know, but I wasn't still like super open about what was happening. I wasn't trying to play like things were cool, but yeah, I didn't really, you know, not too many people reached out to me, and I wasn't really someone that was like, I need you in my life type of guy. I was just kind of like there with that. I knew I had a problem, but wasn't really ready to face it yet. Parents obviously were concerned. Dad was super worried, and mom was super worried, grandparents and stuff like that. But yeah, I wasn't really hearing anything they had to say. I don't think there was anything that you could say to someone in that position. Like, it just wasn't in my mind to get better yet. And I had like reunited with my longtime girlfriend out here, who was doing her own partying. So it was like, cool, you're someone else that accepts it, I accept it. And like, then we like progressed, you know, took our using to a level that, you know, harmed both of our lives. And it was like that for the next like 3 or 4 years or something. Can't really remember, but until I was 28.
What happened when you were 28?
When I was 28, that's when I got serious. I recognized like I was really messing myself up. So I was like substance induced psychotic, and it was like, I thought I was like gonna be like that permanent, you know, hearing things, seeing things that weren't reality. I would like have like, I would toggle between myself and this other like noise that was going on. Like, there was times it would stop, but I knew like something was happening upstairs for sure. And it wasn't fun, and I was suicidal over it, and I knew I needed to get help. And I was, if I couldn't get this fixed, I wasn't willing to live that way. You know, I knew I had become some damaged goods and may have pushed the limit too far. My drug using was very like an extreme sport, you know, like how much can you do? Like, I wasn't in competition with anybody, but that was like, I liked pushing those boundaries. And it was very similar. It was like the same concept of what I've done all my life. And it still had excitement to it. And things got a little bit tough with like providing the drugs for myself anymore, when it had not been for a long time. And that's when the mental stuff was happening. So it was just kind of like this meltdown. It was like a bad, rough last year of barely getting by, and it was like not fun no more. But then now I got this stuff upstairs, and I'm like, you know, my girl's like ruining her life and messing things up with her kid and career, and I'm a part of that. And now I'm like hearing shit all day and thinking weird things, and it was just like, yo, we gotta like get a grasp on this, or like, we're about to get the fuck up out of here. And I was dead serious, like didn't tell a soul, you know? So that's when I went to my dad, and like he had offered, I think he had like came to me to offer actually one time. So we tried to go to treatment. I think I only stayed a few days, and then shortly after tried again through a buddy of his. I think I stayed like 10 days, you know, and I just kept getting drawn back. My girl was still using, she wasn't ready to stop. And so like that, I kept knowing that door was there if I wanted to open it. And I started having some overdoses, and there's just a time where I forget how it went down or what was said. I know there was always pressure by my dad. I would go to his house and like kick, and he knew it was exactly what was going on. And yeah, we had like a big fight, you know. I was like asking him to help me again, and he like turned me away. But I was serious. I really did want to like try again, you know. I almost died on my mom's birthday from an overdose. That would have been terrible. And the suicide was getting more like to the forefront of like, yeah, that sounds like something I should just go ahead and just save myself the misery, my family, like this life didn't go the way I had planned, and I'm not really willing to live this life like this. And but I was like, I can't really go that route yet, you know. My dad's always been real big on not quitting. My mom is an athlete. She's always been real big on quitting. You know, my grandpa boxed, and we always like watched our boxing together, and he was always real big on not quitting. And I was like, I can't really go that route without trying once, you know. Like I've gone to these opportunities and I bounced. I've been someone that always gets opportunities in life, and I feel like maybe I should take this serious, and maybe I'm not going to get too many more opportunities. So I just told myself I'm going to go here to treatment, and I'm going to try my ass off and see if one, I can make this stick, and like two, if this stuff would go away, because it still wasn't a for sure thing that even if I like got the clean from the drugs, that I could really accept the way what was happening, you know, mentally. So I went and I just stayed in day in, day out. In like day 86, the mental stuff like broke finally. It finally didn't turn on, I like to say, one day. And I cried.
Where did you go to treatment at?
So I went to treatment in Ventura here at a program. It was called Kepper House. It was more like detox residential then. I think it's sober living now. I don't know exactly how the changes have happened. I know it's still around. I think it's a little different, but yeah, I went there in 2012. It was cool. It was good to have some structure. I wasn't like the most social person. I had my people that I would be social with, but like to strangers and stuff, I wasn't like social how I am now. Like I had to know you, and we had to be like, have a connection, or, you know, be friends before I was like, then I was social. I had to like have trust for you. So like with randoms, I was always reserved, introvert, kind of just like stay to myself, like just leave me alone, I'll leave you alone type of person. But like, it was cool. I got to be around like some dudes that were characters and like made the time fun. I got to be around older guys, younger guys, you know what I mean? It was just like a whole new thing for me. And it kind of softened my heart to like liking people, because I was kind of just, you know, like me against the world feeling all my life, and out to prove myself and to beat people in motorcycle racing competitively. Like the competitiveness never turned off, you know? So it was cool. I just, you know, learned how to like journal and stuff like that. Just things that, you know, learn how to like share my story. I wasn't really like about sharing my story, but just like putting out like, I'm not like super big into sharing my story, but like just sharing how it's feeling and like the things I want to like make better and like goal, you know. It just kind of like got the fire turned back on in my soul. And it was cool. Like I didn't like it all, you know, and I probably wanted to leave every day, but I had like a commitment to myself, like, let's just keep going to the next day, to the next day, to the next day, like to the next day. I just want to see if this is going to be for real, forever, you know, these things happening mentally. And it was on day like 84, 86 or something. I would wake up and like brush my teeth and do my little routine. And I never knew when like the stuff was gonna turn on mentally, but it's like some days it would wait till later, and I'm like, am I free? Is it stopping? You know? And then it would start. And I was like, fuck, it was just like a wait back, like, like, you know, I could feel myself sink down, like, damn, it's still there. You know, cause I would get fooled. I'd be like, oh, we're at lunchtime and it's not there. Like, we're this, whoa, what's going on? This is good. And then it's back, you know? So it's like this thing that was just haunting me. And at that time, during that time period, when it didn't come on for a whole day, like the end of the day, I just like broke down crying. And then I was like, it's a fluke, or it's gonna come back, you know? And it didn't come back the next day, and it's never come back since. And sometimes little flashes here and there, I'm like, get a little bit old paranoia style, but it's been gone since then. And it was like 2 of the best days of my life, is just being freed from that.
How many years has that been?
So that is December 27th, 2012. I entered my chapter recovery, and so that's coming into like 13. I think this is the 13th year. Yeah.
Have you been able to maintain your sobriety this whole time?
Yeah. I've had a couple surgeries that were trying, and I was stabbed once in that time. So I've had some prescription, where I didn't want to do anything, worried about it. And like at the time I had a sponsor, and it was like, be honest, I had been stabbed, and like flatlined, in some like road rage type of deal. And like had the whole drainage box out my lung that got, deflated, whatever that happened to it, collapsed. So there's been a couple of times where I've been on prescriptions, and I don't know if you really want to share all this, but it was a good learning experience and a healing process for me, because in my mind I still like reminisced about like prescription pills, like, all right, I'm not going to do heroin, I'm not going to do needles, all that stuff, meth, but one day I have all these broken bones and like chronic pain, like it's probably going to be acceptable to be on like some prescriptions one day, and like we'll have our time again, me and those little yellow pills that I loved. But being forced in that position and in the pain I was and having to do prescriptions, I got off all 3 times, 1 stabbing, 2 feet surgeries, for just like my feet are really messed up from racing. And every time it was like off shorter and shorter. It was just like the initial pain. And that's how I did it, like when I raced initially, when I would break bones. It's like the initial few hard days, and then like they just sit there in the medicine cabinet for years until they get like thrown out or whatever happens to them. So other than that, yeah, I've been rock solid this whole time.
How have you been able to maintain your sobriety? Are you working any programs?
Yeah, I did a lot of programming early on, for like 5 years, 6 years. I was really into it. The first like 4 were that's when I was like really into it. It took me like 1.5 years to do my steps. I'd go to that step study meeting every Saturday. I had a group of friends that we would do like gym and meeting and dinner or meeting and gym. And like, that was just life for a few years. Once I got into school, I was in school for addiction disorders. So I was doing school, I was starting to work in treatment and like taking clients to meetings for like 5 days, every night of the week I was taking clients to meetings. I was in Santa Barbara at that time. And so I lived it that way. Then I kind of transitioned more to church. And as my career got more serious, I'll hit a meeting when I need to, but I prefer church, and I work with young recovery a lot. And I don't know, just going to meetings, I feel like I got burnt out. So I just find it in different ways now. I still like to pop in. I think COVID kind of got me off track a little bit with meetings, but I'll still go get one. And I like church the best for myself. If I need my cup filled and I can make it to church or even listen to it on my phone, it's like the best for me.
How'd you get started here at Monarch?
Getting started here at Monarch, it's kind of a cool little story. Like I said, Sean and me had started high school together, and he had lived his life and my life, and we really we run into each other every so often, like every handful of years maybe. And there came a time where we're like Facebook friends, and I'm posting like what I'm doing in school, or I'm graduating with this degree, or whatever it is, I'm working here. And so him and his brother had started the sober living and wanted to get into the IOP, realm. So he had reached out to me talking about, I've been following you for all these years. I see your progress and what you're doing with your life. And, I've seen that you're, certified, counselor type of deal. Would you be interested in like coming on board and taking a look at this? where this is our vision. This is what we want to do. We want you to be part of it, type of deal. And that's just that was the beginnings, I was working in different treatment centers. And so I took a meeting with him, and it felt risky, because we really didn't know what we're doing. It's always, I have worked in treatment for many years, but you have someone else that's a director and the clinical director and all these different positions to kind of make that car drive. And now we're just together, what do we do? Where do we start? Okay, we start here, we start there, So that's the beginnings of Monarch. It was difficult to not be a motorcycle racer anymore. It was difficult to be a failure daily, because whether it wasn't an outside feeling, it's just I know what I had the potential to do and had been doing for a long time, and I just fell really short. Even though racing was starting to go good, and I had it turned around, and I think it was going to go really good the next handful of years, but it was one really good year, and I know that there was another level to reach. It was tough to live with damn, somehow I'm not doing it no more. Overnight, I'm a full fucking drug addict, you know what I mean? I wake up from this depression and these life crisis, and this is where I'm at. It was just hard to wrap my head around how did that happen? How did it go from doing good after I've been through difficult times, getting it on track, losing someone, and then depression, and then boom, the next 5 years was just all a blur. It was just tough daily to wake up and set goals when they were goals that were get a job, or goals just do my daily life skills and hygiene, and go to a meeting and eat 3 meals a day. These are stupid little goals that I was having to do. How did I get here? And I used to be that. It was tough to want to go forward. It was tough to I think I rode my bicycle for 1.5 years. It was tough to see my cousin or see old friend. I'm on the corner on my aunt's mountain bike that was too small for me because mine got stolen, and it's everywhere on a mountain bike. I didn't even have a phone. I had broke my phone and threw it away because I knew I kept relapsing because that phone. It's just tough. I lived at my grandma's house, on the couch with my grandma in her room, my divorced aunt and uncle, and his daughter were there. I was on the couch until my uncle moved out. Then I got a bedroom. It's just tough. It was lonely. All these people that were my friends, I was the cool guy. I had party. I had, girls. I had the spot. I was into cool things. You could roll with me. Basically none of them really showed up for me. And I don't expect them to, it is what it is. But friends were, had a lot of friends die too that were close friends from other things in life, with fighting and prison or whatever it was, So I don't blame, everybody's life was a struggle at that time from anybody that I would call a close friend. But, all the other medium level friends, they were not actually friends, It was just tough to face the mountain in life and just be back. It felt so ground zero, just stripped from I had not much, but I still had more than a lot of people. I had my father always has stood by me, even if I didn't like his approach. He would still be there, but it was tough. The first year of recovery was really tough. Every day was a fucking fight, It got easier, like I said, when the upstairs, the mental stuff subsided. It got substantially better. I had a couple friends in recovery that I got close to through treatment, and we programmed together pretty hard. Got to school. I think I was 5 months clean. I was 20 days out of detox when I said I was going to become a drug counselor. I guess that's like a real common thing I learned now, you know. At the time I was like all inspired. But now I'm around it all the time, and I'm like, you hear it so much where people are in detox and they're like, I'm gonna go be a drug counselor. So I'm sure the people that where I was like, we'll see, buddy, you know, but it ended up sticking, you know. And I got like things worked out and got myself to school. I wasn't sure for sure if I could do school because I didn't go to high school really. I did homeschool, and it was like super basic, you know, like basic, bad basic. I can't believe it was like legal how basic it was. But so I was a little bit apprehensive and filled with self-doubt. I got myself to school and got into classes, and I'm like, at least I'm gonna get some new boxing gear. I'm gonna get a cell phone, and because at this time I was like, you know, close to 6 months or whatever clean. I'm like, I need a phone now. Like I haven't had a phone for like a year, and that's all I cared about. Maybe some clothes and some running shoes, and like, but I just wanted boxing gear and a cell phone with my first financial aid check, and then I was doing school, and I'm like, this isn't so bad, you know, like. I'm like passing my stuff. I'm getting pretty good grades. You know, I always got A's and B's. Like B's were super easy for me. I'm like, I'm gonna go back to school and get another check. You know, I'm gonna go take more classes next semester and get another check. And that's when it kind of set in like, I like this, you know. That's when life got a little easier with school. It's still hard, like the regret, the loneliness, you know, but I was just locked into a routine. It was cool because it felt like I was a motorcycle racer again. I was really disciplined when I had like most of my life, you know, and I got a little squirrely there at times, but it felt like I was locked back in and getting organized and my scheduling, you know, instead of logging like miles on my road bike or running or the times that I was doing riding, like motos is what we call it. It's like this assignment, this class, this assignment, this due date, you know, and I got into boxing, so that was like another upgrade. So I made the first year, I think it was like a year and a half when it stopped being so hard. And I just was focused on routine every single day. I don't think I ever cried more in my life than that first year and a half, just randomly, just like, fuck, this sucks, you know, like. Just no friends, no girlfriends, no one really close. I had like a couple buddies, so you know I had them, but it was just like I didn't know if we're like gonna be like, it wasn't the friends I used to have and love that are gone. You know, they don't mess with me no more. Whatever it is, like a year and a half was tough, and that's when I finally like feel like I broke through that barrier of like struggling every day. I felt like my obsession, like thoughts, I wasn't really scared of relapsing or thinking about it. It kind of like already was gone, but like at a year and a half, I started feeling proud of myself. I had passed a couple semesters and I had a direction I was going, you know, I had like this purpose I was aimed at now, and something substantial, like a goal that felt like of value. It wasn't some stupid goal like, you know, don't relapse today, you know, even though that it's a big goal, early recovery. It wasn't some dumb shit. Like, it was like, I'm gonna go do this drug counseling stuff and I'm gonna go back to treatment and work in there because I actually liked treatment. It was actually fun in there. And like, that's gonna be a cool job. And I don't know what's gonna come next, but that's where I gotta get to. And once I get there, I can reassess, you know, and see where do I pivot, where do I try to grow, like what's next. I don't know what I'm doing, but that's where I got to get to. So like just having that purpose and that drive, I got the fire burning stronger, you know, and I felt more alive. I had some hope that like I could just get back to independence, want to be at grandma's forever, you know what I mean, and get a vehicle, whatnot, and these different other significant goals, and I could kind of see a roadmap for them. And then from there, it's just been school. Like I just put my head down in school and hobbies. The boxing was a huge component of mine. It really brought me a family. The gym's Knuckleheads Boxing in Ventura, and it brought other like-minded people to my life that I loved, and I had like real friends again. And you know, they're healthy people. A couple of them ride dirt bikes with me, mountain bike, like we go to fights or we spar, whatever it was. For a lot of years, it was just like school, boxing. You know, I met the love of my life a few years into my recovery. I had gone back to a motorcycle race I hadn't really been in a long time. Wouldn't say I was bitter, but I just like wanted to block it out, you know, because it didn't go the way I wanted it to go or whatnot. So I just kind of like, I would watch here or there, then it would bring up old emotions, make me frustrated. I'm like, that's not good for me, you know. So, but I finally went to a race in Vegas and met my fiancée, and that was really cool how that happened. It was like my first race to go see like old buddies and stuff in a long time, and I met her in Vegas. So I've always been pretty lucky in Vegas and like racing wise. So I don't gamble, but it's cool to have met her there. So we start our life together, which I'm super strong in my recovery and like growing as a person with school, and continuing to work on myself. I feel like I've never stopped working on myself since the day I got clean, and since I've been open to this, like, you know, thought process and stuff on self-work. And we started dating, and she really matched like my temperament, what I needed. She was like really sweet and soft and kind and positive, and I'm like opposite end of the spectrum. Like I'm well-mannered and stuff like that, but I have a temper, and I can just be aggressive towards anybody in the world. You know, it's been like, that's what I've been conditioned to be, this aggressive, you know, animal my whole life. So like I had to learn how to like add that softness to myself, which she helped me with, and like gain better control of myself, especially in like a relationship, you know, a healthy relationship. It was no longer accepted to like have these big fights and blow ups and say shit you don't mean. So she like really helped me take a huge step in my maturity process and like becoming a man, you know. A boxing coach had offered to take me to church, and like I have tried church different periods of my life. One was with my girlfriend that died. She like got me open to the idea with this really incredible story of when she was in a coma from a car crash, and had this whole like near-death experience and stuff and God helping her, taking her to a river and like dunking her body. She had a deathly fever and when she was in a coma, and she chose to come back to earth, and like this whole rad story. So I was open to it, and she like planted a seed with that, but I like had a resentment towards that because I was in church with the family I lived with the day she had died from surgery that was, you know, trying to fix this valve in her heart that was crushed years prior during the time she was in a coma, right? I know that was a little fragmented, but I had this like non-God thing again, and my family didn't push it. My dad was raised Catholic. He took me to the dirt bike track, not to church, and he was kind of like, he was just like, he has his beliefs, but he wasn't like real pushy with that. But a boxing coach, things were going good in my life, and a boxing coach offered to take me to church. We said later on for the day, see you tomorrow, coach, type of deal. And then he called me back as I almost like was out of his view. And he's like, hey, it's just put on my heart to offer to take you to church. Would you like to go? And I always have said no to those people. And he took me. I said yes. I felt like something was happening, you know. They promised a spiritual awakening through recovery and 12 steps and like doing the process. And like I had those little instances, the voices and the delusions and the weird stuff. It had been gone at this time, and like that's all I would journal for is like, please take this away, like please restore me, my mental like state. Like I'll live any life. I'll work Taco Bell and live in sober living. And I think I could still have fun that way. Just get rid of this shit, you know? And that was like my journaling all the time, and it had left. So like, that was like step one of my kind of like spiritual awakening, you know? I had found a path that was like another step in my spiritual awakening. And then this coach took me, and I went, and like I said, I cried a lot that first year, but like, I don't know why I was crying, you know, life was just tough, but like, I remember going to church, and I just had tears just streaming down, like the redemption of the song. Like I was starting to feel it. I was starting to feel like my favorite movie, Rocky, you know, I'm going to make a comeback story. And like, I could feel like everything in my soul turning on, that like, we're going to fucking do this, dude. Like we're going to make something out of this life with what we got, this chance, you know. I had that moment there, and just like, you know, hearing whatever song it was, it just inspired me, and the message was good. And it felt like super spiritual in there, like the energy. And he was talking to me about the Holy Spirit and these things. And I was just like more open to it, just being open-minded. That's like a huge part of my recovery and my whole process, just being open-minded. So I started doing the church and the school, and I'm just clicking months by and clicking years by, and my girl goes back to school, and she's going to be a speech therapist. She's almost through grad school. I'm now a therapist, finished grad school, and I just got locked back into that mode that I lived as a young boy and a young man and an athlete, and I liked it. I loved it. I sacrificed so much, just like I did when I was a kid. Turned off the outside world. Sure, me and my girl would have she taught me how to vacation, you got to go on a vacation and actually do things and go see places. I've been everywhere, all these places, across the country and some few places in the world, but it was all the same. It was just fly in, go to the hotel, get your meal in, get your rest, wake up, hit the stadium, hit the track, whatever it is, get back to the airport, get home. It was all a blur. I didn't enjoy any of it or see what the world had to offer. So she kind of taught me that to get back on track. It was just routine, and it was rad, celebrating her victories with school and my victories, and going to get my bachelor's. And I don't know how any of it happened. It wasn't, all I wanted to do was work in treatment and get some little certificate. And then a professor would be like, you need to go take these classes and get your associates. I'd do that, and then I'd have another professor or somebody else that was close to me, you got to go get your bachelor's, and then I'm doing my bachelor's, and they're like, you should think about being a therapist and go get your master's. Someone that a mentor at work or something. I don't even know how I got here. I just have been doing the next best step and taking direction from people I trusted and looked up to, in the field, in school, wherever it may be. And I just kept, my judgment was good now. For so long, my judgment was bad, or I don't know how my judgment was it was. It just, I don't know if it was carelessness. I don't know what it was, but my judgment was good again. And I just kept walking through doors that would open, and there's just so many different people that that got put in my life over this last 13 years that just led me or directed me or inspired me in the right way, and it just kind of, I feel like God has been there, and my life was so simple. I wouldn't say it was closed off, but I was just focused, and how does someone just appear when I'm needing a new job because I'm tired of the job I'm at and it's too far of a drive, but I want to still stay in the same field? How does the next day someone reach out to me, and how do all these different, that's just one example, but so many times through my journey, it's been when I'm in need, it just shows up, or the door just opens, and it's obvious to walk through that door, and it's obvious who sent that opportunity to me. Maybe that sounds far out to some people, but if you've been through what I've been through and pay attention, and I feel like I live in a righteous way with my Lord and Savior, that it's just obvious to me what it is. But yeah, so that just brings me to recent life, is graduating grad school, which was a really big accomplishment. Being here at Monarch these last 4 years, doing grad school, having 2 babies, it's all been big accomplishments. It's been a hell of a ride. It seems surreal, but I know I didn't do it. I know I'm just a pawn. I'm just a pawn on the chessboard for the man above, and have good people around me. Work as a team. My fiancée is a great partner. We work as a great team, and I've just been taking the next best step or plan of action and setting the next goal, and enjoying my life. Being there for my nephews and nieces, and my kids, and all the people that I'm able to be welcomed into their life, whether it's drug counseling or whether it's the therapy room, whatever that looks like, you know. I just chose to be selfless with my life. I just feel like, I don't know, my dad was always a real selfless person, so I kind of got that from him. And I just realized drug addicts that are suffering with this disease or mental health, like, they're the funniest people, you know what I mean? It's just characters all the time. Like, I get to come to work and laugh, and like, I remember that in treatment. Like, I've never laughed so much in my life being in treatment. Like, why would I ever want to stop being here? I just don't want to be a client no more, you know? And yeah, I've leveled up through the ranks and taken steps up the ladder, but I just like being around these people. You know, they're my people. They're who I see myself as. I still feel like a client. I still feel like a client, you know? Like, I know I'm not, but it just feels like yesterday that I was in a chair and being one, you know? And I've always stayed humble through it. I think that it's just been an incredible journey, you know? I think that we're special people that have been through some really tough things. A lot of people have, you know, but we just so happen to use drugs and alcohol to cope with it. If you get to know people beyond surface level and like learn what they've been through and what has happened to them and what they've persevered through, you know, I think a lot of people, you can like write a book, make a movie out of them, a documentary. Like, we all have rad stories. It's just a lot of times we don't take the time to get to know people. And for me, luckily, I come to work every day and get to take the time to know people and offer support and be someone in their corner, because they burned every bridge and harmed every relationship they have, you know. And yeah, that's been my last 13 years. And here we are.
What are you most proud about in your journey?
What am I most proud about? Damn, I don't think about these questions. What am I most proud about? I think what I'm most proud about, there's a lot of things to be proud about. I have a list in my phone of any little victory I get in life, and it's like this now, you know what I mean? Whether it's found a new roommate when I needed a roommate, got a new car, had a baby, took a vacation, like anything is significant to any degree that is an accomplishment to the smallest mini victory, I put in my phone. And whenever I'm feeling down, I just look at that. I put a date, I put a year, I put what it is, you know, graduated, associates, bachelor's, grad school, got accepted to grad school, you know, whatever it is. And I just like, I look at that when I'm a little bit feeling down or just a little bit off, you know, a little bit stress, and try to just get myself back into like, look at all these little victories you've got, that you've accomplished, and what are the next ones. I think what I'm most proud of is just like learning how to be like the head of household, you know, and be a good partner. Like, I didn't think love was like gonna happen for me, you know, because I would just like wake up and like not love the person I was with randomly. And like learning how to just like really connect on that level with my partner and start a family and learn how to be a dad. Just learn how to be an adult, I guess. What I'm most proud of, just learn how to be independent adult and give back to the world. It's kind of like a loaded answer type of deal, but yeah, I don't know. I'm just proud of like becoming a adult that is like doing things right, you know? I'm just glad I'm not being shady and scamming and scheming and just doing things that add stress to my life and that are wrong, you know. I'm really proud that I don't live that way no more. Yeah.
That's great. What do you wish people understood about addiction?
What do I wish people understood about addiction? That it can happen to anybody. Yeah, that it just can happen to anybody, and people just need support. People need direction. People need to not have enablers, you know. We need to get support, not you be doing the support, you know, get them to treatment, get them around professionals. Yeah.
So if there's someone watching this and they're struggling, what would you say to them?
there's someone watching this and they're struggling, I would just tell them, like, it might not seem like it's possible, or that you can do it, or it won't happen for you. It only happens for other people. And that's just your disease lying to you. You know, it is possible for anybody. Seen all ages, all different severity, all different upbringings. Like, it is doable for anybody that wants to seek it. It just takes a commitment. And it takes being open-minded and taking direction from people that have done it themselves, you know. I think that's the biggest thing, is like, you got to be able to take direction. You got to be willing to cut people out of your life, you know. You got to be willing to disconnect. You got to be willing to start and finish things. And it starts with starting and finishing a detox, starting and finishing a residential, starting and finishing an IOP, like starting and finishing things, and getting disconnected from anything associated with using, you know, at all costs. If it's family members, if it's friends, if it's whatever, whoever it is, it doesn't matter. It has to you have to disconnect from all of it and be willing to do that to even get started.
If you could speak to your younger self, what would you say?
If I could speak, these questions, if I could speak to my younger self, I don't even know what I would say, man. I would just say, like, I don't know what I would say to my younger self. I would just say, like, I'm proud of my younger self, you know. I did some incredible things. You know, to my younger self, I had these discussions though. I talk with my inner child. I've done inner child work. You know, my younger self did feel like he got kind of cheated of a childhood, and had this high stress, high pressure childhood. But he was a badass, and he freaking killed it. You know what I mean? And now as an adult, like, I get to bring the fun and entertain that inner child today. You know what I mean? I do my paintball, my pickleball. I did my boxing, which is like always like a sport that I would have chose to like be. I'm glad I didn't get to choose it, because that was probably worse than motocross, right? For the head. But yeah, to my inner child, just I'm proud of you, and you really did some incredible shit. And then from here, we're just gonna have fun with life. Yeah.